Hey ACF Kids team, thank you so much to everybody that showed up on Sunday for the training and team building. I was blown away by the turnout. We had 29 people RSVP and 42 people showed up, and it was an incredible time of team building and learning from each other and pulling on each other's strengths and pulling ideas from people that serve in other services and different classrooms. I was so inspired by you guys and everything you had to say, the ideas that you brought, and just the time out of your day that you spent with everybody there meant a lot. So I'm humbled and honored, and I'm very grateful to be in this role and be able to work with all of you and work alongside all of you. So thank you for those that were able to be there. If you were not able to be there, please take a moment when you can to watch the rest of this video. It's going to cover pretty much the highlights of what we went over on Sunday, but I want to make sure that what was discussed is implemented and passed around so that everybody is on the same page and has that information. So take a couple minutes if you can. And if you have any questions along the way or after you watch this video, please shoot me a text or an email, and I'd be happy to meet with you one-on-one for coffee or sometime after services just to talk through anything that you guys want more information about. So when we started on Sunday, we started with an activity called Comfort Zone. And what that was, we sat in this big circle, and if I gave a scenario and you were comfortable and confident in your abilities in that scenario, you would stand up. And then if you weren't super comfortable in that scenario, but you could get through it, you'd stay sitting in your chair. And if it was a heck no, please don't send me, don't even look at me, then you sit down on the ground or just look down. But the purpose of that game was to identify for yourself, as well as those around you, who has natural God-given talents and abilities that they own, who has talents that they don't necessarily qualify as their gung-ho God talents, but they've learned enough in life and they're confident that they could be successful. And in what areas can you learn from the other confident people in the room on the areas that maybe you're sitting there looking down? So the scenarios that I gave were this, and I'll run through them and you can kind of answer this for yourself. Are you standing? Are you sitting? Or is your head down? Don't put me in, coach. So scenario number 1 was changing diapers. Where do you fit on that scale? Scenario 2, singing out loud. Is that a yes, I'm praising from the rooftops, I'm standing up and jumping up and down? Or are you sitting down like, I can sing along with the kids? Or are you sitting down like, don't listen to me? Scenario 3, crying babies. Naturally, all of my infant leaders were the ones standing up, as I should hope. Same with the changing diapers. Scenario 4, leading a small group. That's definitely an area that's more tailored toward elementary and trailblazers, because that is the age group that we break out and have small groups and lead those conversations that can sometimes be a little tough. And so asking yourself those questions, are you comfortable being able to lead a small group with young kids? Scenario 5, praying out loud. Every single one of our classrooms should be praying. That is a goal, that is a vision, that is part of the ACF curriculum, including the baby room. We touched on that later that day, that there is a prayer every week that we should be praying over these babies, whether that's holding them in your lap out and praying out loud, praying quietly to them, or doing it in a group. We all get together with everybody and we all say the prayer together. It's however the team lead for that service wants to run it, but please be implementing those, because it is important, even if it feels kind of silly and it's out of your comfort zone, like the game. If it's out of your comfort zone, lean on somebody who maybe that is their comfort zone. They're standing or they're sitting because, yep, they can pray out loud. So be thinking about that for yourself. Scenario 6. Scenario 6, learning new technology. If you're like me, I never like new tech. I like consistent tech that's simple and easy and works and does what it needs to do. So if you are one of my techie people, let me know, because it is definitely not one of my strengths. Scenario 7, greeting new families. This is so important to be a team lead in our classrooms, or the new family check-in desk, or just creating that loving environment when new families come through the door. So where do you fall on that one? And then scenario 8, having a tough conversation with a colleague. We had this discussion about what it looks like to have the tough conversations because that builds quality relationships. Whether it's another teacher that you're working with in your room and maybe you have some disagreements on how to run the room, can you have those conversations? And can you have them well? And if you have a disagreement with me, or if there's an idea you want to present and maybe you don't get the answer that you were looking for, can we have those discussions? I'm huge on communication. So having the ability to walk through a conversation, whether or not you're going to be comfortable with it, but you can be kind, I think that's going to play a huge role in ACF Kids, just for the collaboration of everybody moving forward. So ask yourself those questions and just kind of have a little heart check of where are your natural God-given strengths and where can you be a leader in those areas? And then what areas do maybe you need to ask for help from other people that maybe have more experience in those areas that you can learn from? I emphasized we are a team. We are ACF Kids team, and we can't do it alone. We've got to rely on each other if we really want to create the amazing environment for those kids that we're trying to set so that they can learn the love of God. After that, we moved into our mission and vision at ACF Kids. And we say it in huddle, but I broke it down to what are the key points I want you to focus on. We are an empowered group of Christ followers. I narrowed in on that word empowered. What does it mean to be empowered to you? Do you feel empowered on the ACF Kids team? If you don't, let me know. How can I empower you to feel like you are equipped and qualified to do the job that you want to do and provide a service that you are happy providing? We talked about what it looks like meeting families where they're at. We talked about what it means equipping our children, both mind, body, and spirit. And we talked about our mission, equipping small and mighty disciples who amplify the grace of Jesus Christ to the churched, unchurched, and dechurched. I was reflecting on this during our staff retreat that we just had a couple of days ago. We were talking about what makes ACF great. ACF, big church, the whole thing. What makes ACF great? And it's our mission going after the church, unchurched, and dechurched. And the beauty that comes from that is most of our people that come through our doors are unchurched and dechurched. And what that means is the kids that walk through our doors are coming from families that are unchurched and dechurched. So what does that mean for ACF Kids? Who are these kids discipling? They are discipling their families. They're discipling their neighborhood. They're discipling the other kids around them. They may be who introduces Jesus into their family. And for me, that was an eye-opener. For me, it was a way to go all in at ACF Kids, knowing that that's our mission. That's why we're here. That's what we do. We're here to equip young and mighty disciples. So I want you to take a moment to reflect on that. We did this activity as well where I had everybody sit and reflect on why they decided to volunteer with ACF Kids in the first place. What was their why? What was their reason? Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's difficult to get out of bed, come early in the morning. Sometimes you have other things going on and you're like, it's just a volunteer position. They don't need me. I don't have to go. So why? What is your why to why you show up on Sunday and Wednesday? I had everybody write it down and I had a few people share. And I would encourage you, if you weren't there on Sunday, to take a couple moments to sit on why you volunteer, your time, your sacrifice with these kids, why it's important to you. And then write it down and then carry it with you. And on the days that it's hard or you don't feel motivated, you get out that card and you remind yourself, yep, that's why I do it. I shared a little bit about my testimony and it was a little bit longer than I intended to share, but I did give a little bit of background as to where I came from. And if you're interested in learning that, I would love to take you out to coffee. But long story short is I've had a long history with childcare. I was in charge of my own daycare center in Oklahoma at a very young age. And so I basically thought, oh, I've peaked. That was what I wanted in life. I guess I'll go do something else now. And I went to a totally separate career in real estate and absolutely loved it and still do practice it in Alaska and in Oklahoma when I was there. And I still love that part of me. It brought out a different side of me, a practical business side of me that I love. But I felt this tugging to come back to kids because that's where my natural God-given talents lie. And I've always known that about myself. So when this opportunity came up and 2 weeks of not sleeping later, I recognized God's calling me home, back to kids, back to serving with kids, and back to leading kids through his love. So that's me in a very, very quick nutshell, but if you want to know more, let's get coffee. We then went into our practices and procedures. I'll send everybody a link of the updated policies that if you were not there to get a hard copy on Sunday, you'll at least have an electronic copy. So please give that a read. I know most people that sign on, there is a section where you have to click on them and read them, but actually read them. There's a lot of great information in there, just answering some questions that maybe you have in the back of your mind, or maybe even questions you don't know that you have that's a good to know. So a couple points that we did touch on. Kid captains can serve beginning in 1st grade through 5th grade. If they're in 1st, 2nd, or 3rd grade, they can serve in our toddler or preschool room. But kid captains shouldn't be serving in the rooms that they're the same with their peers, in their same peer group. So if they're older than that, 4th and 5th grade or older, great, they can absolutely serve in elementary. But our lead teachers need to make sure that the kid captains are doing a few things. They're contributing to the flow of the classroom. They're being helpful, and they're setting a proper tone. They're setting and being an example for what it means to be a kid captain. And if there's a new kid that's trying out being a kid captain, or maybe a kid captain has been there for a while, and if there's ever a kid captain that maybe needs a bit more guidance or isn't contributing to the flow of the classroom, let me know, or let your service coach know. There's always opportunities for them to serve in other ways that might not be in the classroom. Instill in them what it means to serve and why they're there. They're there to serve the kids. So just help them do that. We talked about huddle potentially shifting to after services. I'm not making that change yet. I'm still working out the details on how that is going to work. And honestly, I don't think I can make that change until we have solidified service coaches in every service just to help run all of those huddles. So the point of huddle, though, is to build that sense of community. Just like worship team, when you're on worship team, you're part of a community. When you're on the fit team, it's part of a community. I want ACF kids to have that same atmosphere, that same feel, even though we all run at 4 different services and 4 different times and might not have any overlap with the other serve team members. Within your service, I want that community built for you guys because it's important. We're all here to do the same thing, and that's to share the love of God with our kids. So huddle is mandatory. I want you guys there, and I want you guys to enjoy being there. I re-emphasized again about Planning Center and the importance of responding to that. It really helps me and the service coaches know well beforehand who is going to be there, and it gives us time to find a replacement if something happens. I emphasized the importance of life happening because I get it. Life happens. It can be bad life, like you blow a tire, you're sick, your kids are sick, something happens, and you're like, sorry, life happens, and I can't be there, and I'm so sorry. But also, life happens. It's your kid's birthday. You have family in town. Go experience life. Life happens, and I don't want you to miss it. I'm planning on running all of my classrooms and building out our schedule to run 3 teachers per classroom in order to account for those life happens moments. Whether it's a sickness and someone calls out, or you have a birthday and you want to go celebrate with them. That way, if the classroom is only running at 2 and then one person calls out, that classroom doesn't have to close. I don't want to have to close classrooms. I want the classrooms to all remain open so that our kids benefit, our teachers benefit, our parents benefit, and that way running it at 3 per classroom, if someone calls out, there's no guilt because there's still 2 very effective teachers that are there to run a classroom. So if you see other people teaching with you, then there is a reason behind it. We talked a little bit about classroom requirements, and I wanted to touch base on the cleaning. I don't think that's getting done between services, and a lot of that's just because of the turnover and how fast it is, but it is important for the teachers that are in that classroom to be wiping down tables and sanitizing toys in between, and especially after the 11:30 service when we have a bit more time to do it. I do go in during the week and try to sanitize our tables and chairs and toys, but it would be a huge help if my teachers could help me on that too after they serve in a classroom, just to help make sure all those germs get accounted for to keep the sickness at bay as best we can. I'm not going to break down every line of the policies and procedures on this video because I'm going to attach the link and you can read it for yourself. But if you have questions about it, let me know. When we finished going over the policies and procedures, I then had every teacher in every classroom that they serve in go meet in that classroom and then share ideas of what works for them, how they like to run the classroom, and then share with everybody else that also serves in that room. And that way you guys can collaborate together. And I found that was really valuable to a lot of people. And honestly, they stayed after our time was done. We were supposed to end at 3 and people were there talking until 4:15. And that's what was inspiring. The fact that you guys cared so much to stick around even later into your afternoon so that you could share ideas and have community with the other teachers that are serving just warmed my heart. So we had a lot of ideas on how to run the classroom, but just here's a few things, a few small tweaks that I think every classroom can implement that can raise the happy culture of ACF kids. And here's the first one. I'm so happy you're here. It feels so good to hear, and it feels good to say. So every kid that walks through that door, I want us to get in the habit of saying, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're here today. They might not have wanted to go. And that moment of them hearing, I'm so happy you're here, it does make a difference. So if we can start making that a part of our daily greeting, and I know so many of you are doing it already, but just as part of our happy procedures, if you will, just greet our kids with smiles and saying, I'm so happy you're here, and making them feel welcome as they walk in the classroom. And then the other thing we already touched on is praying. Be praying for our kiddos in every classroom, even in the toddler room. When they're about to do snacks, make it fun. Okay, boys and girls, we're gonna pray. Can everybody clap their hands? Ready, 1, 2, 3. Make it fun. Make it consistent so that they know what to expect week after week after week. Oh, yep, this is what we do. We pray before we eat snack. So instilling those practices and making them consistent is really important. And then the last one is just consistency of showing up. Kids like knowing who they're going to see in their classrooms when they show up. We do have an every other week schedule set up, and so they do know that depending on when they go, it'll be either this teacher or this pair of teachers or this pair of teachers. But the consistency of knowing it's going to be one or the other helps a lot of our kids just be at ease. They've already developed a relationship with them. It helps let them know that they're seen, they're known, and what an important role you play as that teacher plays into their life is a big deal. So take that to heart. You matter being there just as much as they matter being there. And then the last thing, in case nobody's tracking, Christmas is around the corner. And it's coming up a lot faster than I was expecting. And it's gonna be here before we know it. And I would love to have a few people that want to volunteer to be a part of my Christmas team, because Christmas is a big deal and it's a big undertaking. And I can't pull together the vision that I have in my head without you, without some help, without you guys. So if Christmas inspires you like it does me, and you want to be a part of creating that magic, send me a text message. I'm going to start putting together some Christmas meetings so that we can start planning and getting some ideas together and start implementing those, so that by the time Christmas comes, we actually have something to give our kiddos. So if that's you, please let me know. All that to say, that was a lot. And I covered 2 hours worth of information that I covered on Sunday in 12 minutes. So I apologize for how long the video is, but thank you for taking the time to listen through all of it. I appreciate and love every single one of you. I value what you do. I hope you value what you do and what you bring to the table. You're important, and I see you. Thank you for what you do. Love you guys.